Okay. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome. A pleasant welcome to one and all for joining us today in our webinar series on food, land, and climate justice, where Caribbean women will take center stage. I'm Pat Northover, Senior Fellow at the Sir Arthur Lewis Institute for Social and Economic Studies at the University of the West Indies. And this session will be recorded for all our participants. I will be introducing our moderators and saying a little bit about our project. Today's intervention is the second in our webinar series. Our first event addressed the topic of hunger, COVID-19, resistance, and farmer-based solutions, stories, knowledge, and visions from 5 food sovereignty organizers in the Caribbean. The organizers there came from Jamaica, Bermuda, Belize, Puerto Rico, and St. Andres, Colombia. These webinars have emerged out of a UK-funded Global Challenges research project spearheaded by the University of Bristol. It seeks to support local leaders and communities in the struggle against food insecurity and all the injustices related to that experience. This project is a partnership between academics, communities, and other stakeholders from the 5 countries represented in our first webinar. But our objective is to widen and deepen these partnerships as we explore community-based food systems, as well as land and natural resource management issues in the time of COVID-19 and the uncertainties of climate change. For more on our project and partners, please visit our Facebook page, FLACC 2020, that is FLACC 2020, and do spread the word. Today, we're building our conversations with Caribbean women up front and central. As emphasized by the Right to Food and Nutrition Watch, gender relations shape food systems, and gender oppression has had a negative effect on women and gender non-conforming people across all stages of the food system. Indeed, violent relations are central to how prevailing food systems are structured. And in the growing numbers of persons affected by hunger and the COVID pandemic, women, children, and gender non-conforming people are worst off. We will have our conversations today moderated by Yaya Marie Coleman and Pambana Bassett, both members of our project. Yaya is a chairperson for the United Black Association for Development Education Foundation, UEF, and a grassroots journalist with Prem Mandala Media House in Belize, the only Black independent-owned newspaper, radio, and TV media house in the region. Pambana is a youth activist born in Zimbabwe who has a background in environmental and development studies and conducts multi-sectoral projects related to education, cultural, environmental, land, and human rights issues in the United States, Central America, and Caribbean small island states. Before turning over to Yaya, I just want to remind you all to please mute your microphones during the session and post your questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. The sessions will be recorded and made available to all our participants. Technical support is kindly provided to us today by Salises through Mr. Richard Leach. Yaya, over to you.
Good morning, greetings from Belize. I will introduce our 3 speakers who are from 3 Caribbean countries. First, I will introduce from Old Providence, Colombia in South America, Diana Marcela Emporia Shugrin. Diana is an independent Indigenous Raizal woman who works as an organizer with campesinos in rural communities from Old Providence in Colombia. She has a graduate degree in rural sociology. And so our first speaker is Diana Marcela Ampudia Chagrin. Our second speaker is from Belize. Her name is Stephanie Williams Ramirez. She is a farmer and co-owner of Country Dream Farm Estate, and today she's representing Biggie, Belize Grassroots Youth Empowerment Association, which is a group of 5 Rastafari brothers who 10 years ago squatted on 1,300 acres of land in Belize and offered 1 acre of land to first-time Belizean landowners for 1,500 Belize dollars per acre, or 750 Belize dollars per acre. Our third speaker is Sister Mildred Crawford, and she is Yarrow Commission in Jamaica. Sister Mildred is also a farmer, consultant, and ambassador for rural women in agriculture at the global level with Yarrow Commission. She's a renowned global speaker and advocate for farmers across the world. Those are our 3 speakers from Diana is from Old Providence, Colombia in South America. Stephanie is from the Kaya district in Belize, Central America, and Sister Mildred is from the island of Jamaica. The structure for the meeting, which is scheduled to last 1 hour and 35 minutes, even though we started a little bit late, is that after the introductions, the 3 speakers will have a question and answer segment for about 45 minutes. And then Pambana will lead the question and answers for all the participants in this webinar. And then in our wrapping up, the speakers will have 1 minute to share their forward movement. And then I will close with a call to arms. And that is the structure and the introduction of the speakers. So we'll go ahead at this point and give the mic to Diana and ask Diana if she would answer the first question, please. Anyone has any questions about what I just said? Good, so we'll go right ahead. Thanks everyone for joining us wherever you are globally. And this is the Caribbean Women for Land, Food, and Climate Justice webinar. Diana, and this question will be asked to all 3 speakers. Diana, describe the work you and your organization does to work for food security or food sovereignty in the region. So if you will describe to us what it is that you and the people in your organization do to plant, purchase, and eat food that is affordable and available.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm speaking here from Old Providence, Colombia. My name is Diana. As I said before, I am part of an organization here that names Providential Food Producers Association. It was born thanks to our family. Our family are farmers here on the island since 1958. And we saw the need to support other people in this community farming and produce. Mainly, I could say 95% dependent on food that comes from Central America and from the mainland in Colombia. So we saw the need to promote producing local, eating local, and transforming the foods that we traditionally transformed in the past. So we basically do a lot of promotion via WhatsApp with different groups. We do it. We try to go to every meeting they have on the land regarding farming. We are part of Slow Food International. We have a community here on the island with slow food, so we are part of this international network. So a part of that, we keep farming, we keep selling and transforming and selling our traditional stews and sweet, and where to innovate these things that we have here on the island. Maybe people would like to have it in a different way. So we try to innovate, trying to use local produce, try to be organic in 100%. We also support our local farmers with seed. Because of the COVID-19, a lot of people are going back to farming in their lands or backyards. Seeds, making exchange. So that's what we basically do. We like to promote a lot. We like to call people's attention on the importance of eating local. And we're working hard on that, and we're looking for support to carry on other projects.
Thank you, Marcela. The next person who will be answering this question will be Stephanie from Belize. The question is, describe the work that is done by your organization and you to plant, purchase, and eat food that is affordable and available. Each person has 5 minutes to answer the questions, please. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
I believe
yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. It's a pleasure
turn
to
on
be
our
here.
video.
Sorry?
Turn on your video. All right, go ahead, go ahead. Yeah, please unmute your mic so we can hear Stephanie.
Sorry. I'm sorry, Stephanie. I unmuted my mic. I should not have. Go ahead and reintroduce yourself, please, or respond to the question.
Yes. So I'm a small farmer. I live in a farm, and I'm also a proud member of the Belize Grassroots Youth Empowerment Association. The struggle for us at Big A have been 10 years long. We have accomplished getting the land, which is, I think, the most important part of farming. Now we're at the point of securing food and definitely rallying for food sovereignty. The organization had just commenced farming pilot project. Sorry, I'm having a feedback here. We just commenced a pilot project where we tend to call it, we're calling it a syndicate, a farming syndicate, where we all came together, 12 members, and each weekend we go out and we clean 2 acres. While myself and my partner, we're living on the farm and we're farming and we're actually growing our produce, organic produce. For the organization, I think the pandemic has given us an extra push into starting and growing our own food on our land and becoming a self-sustainable community when it comes to what we eat. So right now we're in the process of cleaning the land. We're 5 weeks in and we have 2 more to go. We're cleaning the land and some of our members had already started planting because their land was already clean, and the future, not the very near future goal, is to start up a co-op within the community where all the farmers from the community can bring their vegetables to one location where it is sold, and we're able to provide the community and also the country with organic vegetables where we're feeding ourselves.
Thank you, Stephanie. The next question is for Sister Mildred, and it's the same question, Sister Mildred. Describe the work that is done in your organization by you and the members in your organization to plant, purchase, and eat food that is affordable and available in your community?
Okay. While I might be actively involved in both regional and global work, I am domiciled in Jamaica and has been a part of the Jamaica network of rural women producers here. And the objective of this organization is to focus on the social and economic issues that impact rural women in agriculture. We partner with other agencies like RADA, JAS, etc., to ensure that the process of good agricultural practices are evidenced in the work that these women do on the ground. They grow different vegetable crops, tubers, you name it. They do everything in agriculture and agro-processing. We have done significant and exciting projects, especially in agro-processing, where women use the indigenous fruits and vegetables that are in their communities to produce jams, jellies, and other confectionaries, baked products, etc., which are over time, they start in their kitchens, but they usually turn out to be entrepreneurs, sometimes forming cooperatives where they are able to cater for the demand of the tourist industry. For those who are in livestock, they produce quality meat products so that we can enjoy not just straight meat locally, but we have added sausages and arms, chicken arms, we have sausages, etc. All these are done by our rural women, packaged by our rural women. Now we realize that we need to be much more uniformed. And so as one of the leaders that I've had the experience, both locally and overseas, we search for projects or call for proposals that will add value to our organization and our activities. And so we are able to request the services of technocrats to give us training in like product development and organizational management so that we can structure ourselves properly. We also get training in computer and related issues, environmental practices, good agricultural practices, and the list goes on. I think I need to stop there.
Thank you, Sister Mildred. Excellent. All three of you gave responses that will help our listeners and viewers and those streaming online additional information about yourself and the organizations that you represent. The next question for the three of you will be, what is the value of the work that Caribbean women leaders like yourself and community members contribute to food movement? The value of the work that women leaders contribute to food movement in your community and regionally. Diana, you may go ahead.
Right here on where, you know, when we take something in hand, we are not waiting for no one else to tell us to keep going ahead. We're very constant, we are very organized, and I think that's the essential of it, because at home, at work, in the community, everywhere where women put their hands.
All right, one sec, Diana. Your bandwidth is a bit low, so we're going to ask you.
So I think that.
Diana, sorry, your bandwidth is a bit low. We're going to ask you to turn off your video so we can hear you.
Yeah.
And just leave the audio on.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Did you hear what I said before?
You could repeat. It was coming across.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So what I said was that the value that we put to this process, it's our constant the determination that we women had towards these type of issues in our communities. We're very hardworking and we keep going no matter what. So I think these qualities that we as women has at home, in our community, at work, are values that help our society with bettering food systems and finding solutions to our needs.
Diana, and definitely from listening to your first response, women are definitely an important part of the food movement process. Stephanie, I'll go ahead and give Stephanie a ring. Stephanie, can you go ahead and answer the same question? What is the value of the work that women leaders like yourself in the Caribbean contribute to food movement?
We're very persistent. We finish what we start. And so incorporating women and the brothers and together, we definitely get the work done in a timely manner. And we find that we progress very quickly having women around doing this kind of work.
Thank you, Stephanie. The Sister Mildred, do you remember the question? Should I repeat it? Oh. Sister Mildred?
Yes.
Yes. The question is, what is the value of the work that Caribbean women leaders like yourself and community members contribute to food movements?
Many times we advocate for changes in the whole food system or value chain system, and especially ensuring that our rural women are included in dialogues that influence public policies. We also ensure that we invest in agriculture and make sure that our families are fed. We listen and employ the strategies that are recommended to make sure that our yields multiply so that we can get the best out of it. And of course, that contributes to productivity. And productivity ensures that GDP of our country is really one of the areas that benefits from the production that we do.
Thank you, sisters. Definitely. We can hear from our three sisters from three different countries in the Caribbean as they shared what their lived experiences are as women in the food movement system. The next question is, and I'll switch it up a little bit. Sister Mildred, since you're on, I'll ask you the question first. Are there difficulties that you experience as a woman while doing the work that you do in your homes and communities?
Definitely. Jamaica, like any other country, is patriarchal. And there are many times that we will put suggestions forward, we will do things that we come up against some form of hostility because it is believed that we are becoming presumptuous or we are asking for too much. But all we are asking for is that we get a fair share of the market. We get a fair share in conversation. We get a fair share in leadership because 51% of the women across Jamaica rural areas, or 51% of the women in the rural areas are head of household. So when you talk about women's economic leadership, it is that we are just requesting that we be remembered, we be included, and we ask for fairness, equity.
Thank you, Sister Mildred. I feel your passion for now one day. Next, we'll go to Sister Diana in Old Providence, Colombia. Sister Diana, the question is, are there difficulties that you experience as a woman while doing the work that you do in your homes and communities?
Yes, of course. At home, for instance, as our sister was saying, the share of the weight of doing things while you're a professional, while you're a mom, you're a wife, and you're leading with these activities that they are supposed to be for women, supposed to. We're keep struggling, and we don't have space for doing the things that we like. We're always doing what we're supposed to do, and not what we would like to do for our families and community and everything. And we always in work at home because of these thinking. Cultural care thinking, and in the community, especially in the politics, we don't have that fair share in leadership, and sometimes we're not listened, as our sister said, because sometimes I think we're asking for too much when we ask for organization and for doing things better, for a sure.
Sister Marcela? Sister, I don't hear Sister Marcela. So I don't know if she was finished with her thought. We appreciate everything you shared, Sister Marcela. I just want to ensure that you were finished with your thought, or did you have more you wanted to share?
I finished.
Thank you, sister, and for being a true teller of your experience as a woman in the community that you live, working in the food system. Next, we have Stephanie from Belize. Stephanie, are there difficulties that you experience as a woman while doing the work that you do in your homes and communities in Belize?
Definitely. I will just repeat what Sister Mildred said. A fair share in conversation to start with as a female farmer, and a fair share in agriculture activities has definitely been a struggle. At least I'm speaking from experience. Another thing is that here in Belize, as a young Black female farmer, there are much that I can relate to. There are other women that are being put on the front line that I can actually relate to, and I can go for some tips and advice and so forth. You know, it would make us more comfortable if we have people that we can relate to and people that are put on the forefront. We know that here in Belize, agriculture, for one, have been put on the back burner for years, and only because of the recent pandemic, they are now highlighting agriculture as being one of the most important careers right now. So that's definitely some of the struggles that we share. And that's just having a fair share of conversation at the table, being put on the front line when it comes to agriculture activities, especially for female. I'm sure it would make many other female more comfortable to want to take up the role of being a female farmer. I think we still look at it as a man's job. And so we need to take that away and understand that we need to plant our own food and eat what we're growing.
Respect, Stephanie. I'm going to shake it up like I did with Sister Mildred. So I'll ask you this new question, and I'll ask the other two sisters the same question. Is there a specific contribution that women give to our food systems? What that a good thing our women bring to food systems?
As I mentioned before, and I'll mention it again, and so honestly, just from the experience being on the farm with my partner, I'll bring him into it. I can tell you that I'm the first to notice when my little seedlings are dying or something is wrong with my crops or any of that. So when it comes to just being very attentive to our food and the things that we're planting and eating, I think we're the biggest contributors if we put ourselves in it.
Thank you, Stephanie. Well, next, I will go to Sister Diana and ask her, what is the specific contribution that women give to food systems?
Well, Sister, yeah, I think we are in every step of the food system. We educate our children about what to eat and what's the best to eat. We are also involved in farming, where the leaders and
Thank you, Sister Diana.
in transforming the food. We keep the seeds, we take care of seeds. Well, we're providers, take care of that waste. We're sure that the waste are a step of the food system. We take care of it, and we are the one who are.
I'm unsure when Sister
Hello.
Diana has, okay.
I'm here. Did you listen?
Okay. Yeah, yes, I'm hearing you, but sometimes I don't know when it's because of technical difficulty, there's a pause, or you have completed your thought, and I don't want to interrupt your thought. So that's why I'm being careful in listening. So yes, I agree with you.
Yeah.
And as a woman, I'm agreeing as well, as a human being, to what both you and Stephanie shared so far about what is that good thing? What is it that women bring to food systems, food justice? Thanks, Diana. Sister Mildred, what is the good thing? What will we bring as women to the food movement?
Well, research has proven that women manage income from agriculture well, and they pay back the loans well. They have less access to land, but produce more from the small portion. And women are innovative. In some places, they create their own homemade seed banks. And when you talk about social capital, I am looking at what we do with the indigenous foods that we have at home. We make it into nice puddings and stuff and jams and jellies, but we don't keep it for ourselves alone. The next door neighbor's child might not have enough food, and we share. So we share the love, we share the feeling, we share the joy of the growth of agriculture and the products. We make new findings, new methodology, or we can circumvent some of the issues in terms of storage or preserving things. And those, I think, they're very valuable things in society, because over time you find that when we share these knowledge, it either becomes something that is capitalized on for further income generation, or more people start doing it because it works.
Thank you, Sister Mildred. Sister Diana, I'll go ahead and start this new question with you. During this COVID-19 pandemic, what are your experiences with food and land as a Caribbean woman?
Well, as I said before, farming was not like in the scope. It was, relegated to the last space in economy on our islands, and now seems like it's the first. This pandemic showed us how important food is to our community, and that we cannot depend anymore on the food that we import. So somehow the importance of preserving our seeds, finding solutions to the lack of water, and producing our food and transforming it to conserve it and have it available for us during the whole year have become something important. So we're working towards keep promoting farming and showing how important it is. But this pandemic is really doing a lot of that work right now.
Thank you, Sister Diana. And Sister Diana is from Old Providence, Colombia in South America, and she represents the Providential Food Producers Association. Sister Mildred.
Your mic is off.
I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Thanks. That was Sister Diana from Old Providence, Colombia in South America, and she represents the Providential Food Producers Association. And she shared with us just now some of her experiences on the ground during the COVID-19 pandemic as it relates to food and land. Sister Mildred, I'm coming back to you, and I'm asking you the same question. During this COVID-19 pandemic, what are your experiences with food and land as a Caribbean woman hailing from Jamaica?
I am happy to report that COVID, although COVID brought some sadness to many homes, it carried many lessons for us. And backyard gardening, which was usually practiced by homemakers and wasn't given much credit. During COVID, when the stay-at-home quote unquote practice came in, it was the backyard gardens that came up as an ideal thing to provide that kind of nutrition for the women who operate in dual capacities and were not able to go out and do as much work. They stayed home and they grow vegetables, and it's that vegetable that was able to reduce the cost of food at home because they're not earning. Most of them are in the informal economy and they have to live. The government safety net does not really provide for everybody, and they fall in the minority, so they are not caught in it. Yet the backyard garden provided that stopping the gap for them. That is one. And two, I think in terms of the Ministry of Agriculture in its own right, they grapple with the issue of food distribution across the island for years. COVID brought the answer, and not just an answer for food distribution, but it allowed the locals to be able to access food at a minimal cost or an affordable cost, which happened because the government injected a stimulus and contracted purveyors who were able to take our mobile markets to central points where persons could order and pick up without having to have close contact with each other. And I think it's a wonderful thing. We are all eating balanced meal, and the great thing is Jamaica is not short of food.
Excellent, excellent. Necessity is the mother of invention, and indeed in acknowledging that we've taken hits as family members, as community members in our respective homes and globally, because we've lost people have been laid off. And so definitely going back to the land, to Mother Earth, has been a plus during this COVID-19 pandemic. Our next question, the same question is going to our sister from Belize, Stephanie Williams Ramirez, representing the Belize Grassroots Youth Empowerment Association. Stephanie, during this COVID-19 pandemic, What are your experiences with food and land as a Caribbean woman?
Short of food. That is very excellent. I wish we could say that for Belize, but sadly, I believe that the distribution process of land has been failing our people here. We were not planting enough. The pandemic was certainly a wake-up call for us. Even the urban areas, we see where there are backyard gardening projects happening, at least in the city near where I live, in Belmopan. Belmopan has a gardening project going on, and so the residents are planting in their backyard. And so more people are compelled to grow their food because a lot of the residents have been out of a job, no income coming in. The help from the government and the necessary organizations, I don't believe they were coming in a timely manner so that families could survive. And so the pandemic has definitely pushed us to demand an agency in our food system here in Belize, since most of the mass production of agriculture is done by foreigners, by the Mennonite community, and by by residents and from the Central American countries. And so Belizean now is taking a stand to plant their own food and to farm. So I'm very, very happy to see that the pandemic was somewhat a blessing in disguise when it comes to this.
Thank you.
You're muted.
Apologies for muting my mic. Sister Diana in Providencia in Colombia. This next question is for you. And these are the last sets of questions, and then we'll have a space for the three speakers to ask each other questions for about 5 minutes. Sister Diana, and I'll ask the other two speakers the same question. What are practices or actions that you and the people in your community are now implementing based on lessons you've learned? As farming people, you have experiences that you didn't expect. What have you learned from those experiences and have now incorporated as a part of your practice or action in food movement?
Yeah, so it's an everyday learning. We're learning things every day. So many things that sometimes we don't even write them down. But I think COVID brought us the need to keep preserving and even look for strategies to preserve even better the seeds and the varieties of so many things that can only grow very well here on the island, knowing that we're lacking water and the quality of art that we have, and the limited area that we have here on the island, because we're only 17 kilometers square. So it's a very small island, but even so, we need to produce our own food. There are things like knowing that we only have water like for 3 months in the year, and that we need to produce as much as we can during those 3 months, and find ways to conserve and transform these foods into things good that we could have in our kitchen during the whole year. So we are looking for techniques that can help us preserve this food to keep the nutrients as much as possible and have them available. However, there are things that our ancestors used to do but through the years, because we keep far off farming, and we just keep it in the last, it wasn't that important because tourism became more important than farming, that we forgot and we stopped using these techniques of conserving our food and producing it depending on the our rain system regime. So there are just like two examples of what we're doing, trying to adjust to climate change, trying to adjust to what we need, trying to adjust to what we have. So our grandparents used to say, take what you have and do what you want. So that's what we're trying to do right now. Finding out what it is that we have and what is our potential, and trying to stick to that and not keep bringing things from outside and bringing too many ideas from outside that are not adjusting to our environment and to our social needs. So it's an everyday changing, and it's everyday learning. So but basically taking into account our needs and what we have.
Thank you.
That would be it.
Thank you, Diana from Old Providencia in Colombia, South America. She represents the Providencia Food Producers Association. And indeed, I hear the importance of knowing your community, knowing your ancestral our stories, and incorporating it because you know what's best for your people in your community collectively. The same question is for Stephanie in Belize. What lessons have you learned as a farmer that you did not expect, and that you have incorporated those lessons in your practices or actions as you move forward in the farming movement?
Okay, as a farmer and as a member of the BIGA, the Belize Grassroots Youth Empowerment Association, one of the things I've definitely learned over the past few months is that every single thing that I eat that consists of a seed that can be planted will be planted. We're on the land, the soil is beautiful. I don't see why not. And as well, I believe that we need to preserve our heritage seeds instead of just buying and importing. I believe in preserving our heritage seeds. So that is definitely something that I've learned. And next thing would be, we definitely want to spread the awareness, educate our youth, because I believe that is where it starts. We need to educate them and get them into the fields and encourage them to take up the responsibility of planting and helping the household. And so we don't just become a community of consumers where we purchase everything. So many things can be grown very easily. Not doing it, a lot of us think it's difficult, but as soon as you start and you're seeing your little seedlings bloom and they're growing and they're maturing, the excitement within you will encourage you to do definitely much more. We intend as BIGA to eventually maybe come this holiday or the next one, probably the next one, but run summer camps where the youth can come in, the at-risk youths, the youth from the urban areas that have never done farming before. They come in and they plant, they spend a week, they do camping, they learn how to set up a tent, start a fire, and how to survive. Because I think if anything else, this pandemic have taught us that it doesn't matter what our degree is, what position we hold, it all boils down to surviving just like our ancestors did. So yes.
Thanks for your 2 cents, Stephanie. Again, she's from Belize and represents the Belize Grassroots Youth Empowerment Association. Our sister Mildred from Jamaica. What are some lessons that you've learned when faced with unexpected difficulties that you then use those lessons to incorporate in your practices or actions moving forward, working in the food system?
Thank you. 1, virtual classes have become the norm for both school children and adults. Are you hearing me? Hello?
Yes, go ahead. We're hearing you and seeing you. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes. In response to your question, 1, virtual classes have become the norm for both children and adults. Because of COVID, we have decided to make the rural women in the area that I serve most able to benefit from programs. And based on the stay at home, we have to do these sessions or sensitization programs using social media. And we found out that the rural women were able to adapt and use Facebook or YouTube to follow the process that we are encouraging them to do. Based on the completion of these introductory classes, we have decided to roll out a program where 45 homes will benefit from backyard garden care kits. It will assist these families to grow their own vegetable at home, and the surplus can be sold to be reinvested into the business so it keeps revolving. I think that this is what we would do for the short term. Within the long term, the same 15 community-based groups will benefit from over 20 greenhouses, which will carry larger productions. And of course, we'll be doing this in a cooperative style rollout. So you will have more production, more benefits, and more people operating in a cohesive fashion for the same goal.
Thank you, Sister Mildred. This will be the last question, and then we'll go to 5 minutes where the speakers may ask each other questions. And for those who may just be tuning in, you're listening to the Caribbean Woman for Land, Food, and Climate Justice webinar. And our speakers are from the island of Jamaica, from Belize in Central America, and from Old Providencia in Colombia. The last question, Sister Mildred, will be for you. We'll start with you. What do you feel is needed in your communities and the region for land, water, and energy to be available, affordable, and sustainable for all living beings? So what you feel is needed in your community and the region for food, land, water, and energy to be available, affordable, and sustainable for all living beings. So for the four-legged ones, the two-legged ones, they are living beings. What do you feel is needed?
There are always policies in place. Many times, these public policies are not enforced. 1. I also think for these to be effective and to reach the people at the local level, it requires consultation and the involvement of some of the actors at the local level who understand the dynamics on the ground and is able to share this knowledge with technocrats and other persons so that when the rollout or the implementation is being done, it will go to the right people. I continue to say, if you bring a gift to a poor man's doorstep and leave it there, and he's locked in that house, he would never know that the benefit is there unless you knock on the door and let him know that you have come to his doorstep. In other words, let us make sure that what the state provides, it doesn't sit there on paper, or it doesn't stay with the haves, but we ensure that it rolls out to the local level and the have-not will get a better share of the pie.
I'm sure many of us can relate to what you just shared, Sister Mildred. And I'm sure we'll talk about this some more in other spaces. Thanks very much. Sister Diana, let me ask you the same question. What do you feel is needed in your communities and the region for food, land, water, and energy to be available, affordable, and sustainable for all living beings? What do you feel is needed?
Well, yeah, I think I share Sister Mildred's position, but I also think that politicians sometimes need to be educated towards the importance of these issues and needs that our community have. Sometimes they're related or worried about other issues and not worried about our needs, I think. So we need a little of more interest from them to adjust these politics to be able and look resources to get through with these projects that in regions like ours will be like mega and extra big and quite, enormous projects. I also think that the community need to know and need to get involved in these type of solutions, technology solutions, because maybe you give me a computer, but if I don't know how to use it, if I don't know what to do in case this technology goes wrong, then I will just keep it in one corner and don't use it anymore. So sometimes new technologies are great, new solutions to our problems are great, but if we're not involved in that process from the beginning until the well use of these technologies, these solutions for our community in these issues, which is land, water, and energy, we will not be able to keep it in our community for a long time. It will be just a thing of a project, a thing of a little while, a thing of 1-2 years, and then we will go back to zero, needing a solution for these problems. So basically it would be that.
Thank you, Sister Diana. And you sure touched the hot button when you brought in the politicians. We could not, as Caribbean women, have a conversation about food, land, justice, and not talk about the role of the politicians as actors in this process. Excellent point you made, Sister Diana. Now we'll go to Stephanie in Belize and ask her the same question. Stephanie, what do you feel is needed in your communities and the region for food, land, water, and energy to be available, affordable, and sustainable for all living beings?
I believe that the first thing needed is proper agriculture education, starting at the primary level. I believe for most individuals who eventually step into the field of agriculture.
One moment, Stephanie, put your camera on, please.
Okay.
Go ahead. Thanks.
Okay, yes. So I believe the education starting at a primary level when it comes to agriculture. A lot of us who venture off into agriculture, it's totally on our own. When we're older, I don't believe that it's pushed enough in school, and I definitely don't see why when we're working toward food security and food sovereignty. This is 2020, and after this pandemic, I see it no other way. Let it be known that the people want more invested in land distribution, assistance for small farmers, and not only financially, but when it comes to resources. And yes, the government will say that there are offices that can assist you with resources and information, but are all of these offices actually fully functional? That's the question. And so when they give out their report, they're talking about all these different offices in charge of different sector in the agriculture field. But in reality, and for the regular person, for the small farmer, it's truly a struggle here in Belize.
Truth teller, Stephanie, truth teller. Let me quickly just squeeze in a question to all three of you. I was speaking to a seasoned organizer last night, and it goes back to what Mildred introduced, I believe, and I think Diana touched on it as well. And it has to do with meaningful consultations. We often hear that there are consultations, but what can you offer to ensure that the people who are most impacted when policies are written are actually not only sitting at the table, which is diversity, but their voices are heard, respected, and incorporated in the process, which would be inclusive? What can you share with us to ensure that those of us who are organizing would know how to get the people who oftentimes they don't have degrees, they cannot leave their places where they live to get to where the consultation is, they don't have the technology to participate in a Zoom? How do you get the roots people, the everyday people who are the backbone, to participate in the consultations, and to get those who are hosting the consultations to respect and include what it is that people who are on the ground are sharing? Mildred, you could go first.
This is where we as leaders need...
Your mic is not on, Sister Mildred. Your mic is not on.
Yes, it is.
Okay, go ahead. I'm not hearing you. Yeah, Sister Mildred, your mic is not, I'm not hearing you.
Are you hearing me now?
Okay, it's on now. Go ahead.
Okay. This is where we as leaders need to employ our advocacy skills and to influence these planners or organizers so that they can understand that the offices in the cities are not Jamaica. Sometimes they need to move out into rural areas or into the spaces where the practical life is, because the answers to a lot of the questions that they have really lies with the people who are inhabiting these areas, especially when it comes to agriculture. The methodologies that they sometimes come up with, easier and more workable ones, are there with the people who live in the communities, who inherit these knowledge from their forefathers and continue to practice them. We also should think about how technology can be used to get these people into conversations so that they can contribute, make contributions to these conversations. But again, it all lies in the hands of the organizers, whether they want to hear from these people or not. And I think they should, because the knowledge that these people have, it's invaluable.
Thank you, Sister Mildred. Sister Diana, can you please answer that same question?
Yes, I think sometimes governments try to get to the people. They look for different strategies to get to the people, and sometimes they're successful getting to these people and they're listening to the people, and sometimes they're very repetitive and they go towards them at some point that the people just get tired of hearing and going through the same diagnosis processes and getting up data and getting up data, and then you don't see that reflected on the policies and on the documents that are made, because many times those documents are not even made on the land with the people or with people who are from the land, but they bring people from other places to do these documents, and sometimes they're just trying to get through with their work at their task and very short term of time. So they really don't take into account people's ideas and what their suggestions are. So it's like the works, it started but is not finished. So we get up what people think, we get up what people needs, but then we don't include it because we run out of time. So we're not doing the job very very well. So I think we need, here on our island, we need to get to that end. We're always starting from scratch. We're always diagnosing and we're surveying and we're doing all of these things all the time. And we cannot get to the end of it, of analyzing and taking into account what people are saying and what people really need.
Thank you, Diana. Next, the question is for Stephanie from Belize. Stephanie, what can you offer based on your experience to ensure that the people who are on the ground, who have the knowledge as farm advocates or workers or supporters, get an opportunity to sit down with policymakers for their voices to be heard, respected, and their knowledge being incorporated in policies as they presented it?
I believe that, especially speaking on behalf of Big A, we need to come together and let our voices be heard. Because if myself as an individual, another grassroots person as an individual, and it's all individually that we're trying to voice our opinion, our struggle, I don't believe that they will listen keenly and they will actually hear us the way we want to be heard. So coming together in number and showing that unity is definitely power, we need to come together just as we're doing right now. I believe that Big A is definitely on the right path. We've made history. We're the first organization to have carried out such action. And so just being here on this forum right now and being able to network within the country, of course, and coming together, voicing our opinions together and our facts together, will let them listen to us more, will let them pay attention to what we need, because a lot of the policymakers, they're not on the ground, they are just gathering data and information from whatever source is convenient for them. At least I know that for a fact. I've seen that done. And so it's not accurate if we're not involving the people on the ground and our grassroots people to be involved in these policies.
Stephanie, do you have any questions, Diana, Sister Mildred, that you would like to ask each other?
Since I'm a very young farmer, I just really started full-time farming 2 years ago and a part of Big A for several years before that. However, we are still in the building capacity. We're building, we're open to advice, we're open to information resources. I believe maybe Sister Mildred, since she have been at it for some number of years. So I must say that I feel very fortunate to be here, to listening to woman that I can actually relate to and look up to, and see that you have been in this and you've been through the struggle that I'm probably just experiencing at this moment. So based on what I've shared here, I would like to hear both of you, Sister Mildred and Marcela, but Sister Mildred, just because we can relate a lot more to Jamaica, Belize and Jamaica, we can relate when it comes to the same atmosphere and the level of agriculture that we're doing. So any advice, any information you would just like to throw out there for us, that was actually it's not a question. I'm asking for whatever you have to offer.
I am happy to see young people in agriculture like you, and that you are willing to create that kind of collaboration and ask for guidance, one which I will be happy to offer as often as I can and at convenient time to you, so we can have the conversation going after. I believe in succession planning, and I have a concern about the way, the fabric of agriculture just now, and how many young people are really going into agriculture. Of course, it is better than before, but it still needs to be much better. We need you. And again, I congratulate you, welcome you, and I will work with you.
Thank you. I am out of time. I will try to just squeeze in quickly. Sister Diana and Sister Mildred, is there anything you'd like to offer before we open up the question and answer segment to all the attendants that will be led by our other moderator, Pambana Bassett?
Yes, I have a question for Mildred and one for Stephanie. So for Mildred, it would be, how do you get to motivate more women every day to get involved in food production? And then for Stephanie, it would be, what's the most difficulty do you have in Belize with farming? What do you think on what you're doing to get through with that issue?
Okay, who would like to go first?
I will go first.
Okay, no problem. Go ahead, Sister Mildred.
Although I'm a farmer, I also manage projects. And I normally twin my work with the opportunity of mixing and sharing with the rural women that I know are members and non-members of the organization. I do not know what I do best, but what I know is that I share their pain, I share their joys, and wherever I go in the world and I see best practices, I take it back via videos or printed matter to share with these ladies. I not only just take back, but I look for opportunities for them to go overseas as well. And I think that that selflessness, that kind of unselfish way of doing work encourages our women to move forward, because they too want to share in the experience, the conversations, and yes, they can match things. I also look for marketing opportunities and for technical services that can come to the farm of the members. Sometimes the problem might not just be direct agriculture, but when you check it, you realize that that social issue has some bearing on the activity that they are doing. And so the best option is to fix it.
Thank you, Sister Mildred. Stephanie, can you answer the question that Sister Diana asked, please?
Yes, definitely. So I think the most difficulty that I have faced is accessing information. Like I said,
Put your camera on, Steph.
Okay. I've always had a very passion for farming. I didn't study agriculture in school. This is truly my passion. Like I always said, I'm in the University of YouTube, Pinterest, Google, and every resource that comes along. And so that is how I'm learning. But here in Belize, I think just the most difficult thing as a female farmer is that I hope I'm taken seriously, because I can say that our main bread basket, the people that our main bread basket does not look like me. And so the Belizeans, they're not used to seeing a young Black woman doing farming. And so it's how seriously I'm taken. So I guess I just have to prove myself, and that is what I'm here to do.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. That will complete this
Great,
segment of our conversations with our three presenters, three speakers, women, Caribbean women, as it relates to land, farm, and climate justice. This portion, thank you, sisters. Thank you for those who are tuned into us. Thanks so much for the knowledge that you shared and the confidence you have to continue to do the work you do with the support of your families and community members. Pambana will now be leading the question and answer segment from all the attendees in this webinar.
Greetings all from New Orleans, part of the Caribbean Basin. Thank you so much to our presenters, definitely taken seriously. You all touched on such a range of issues, from land ownership to farming as women, as youth, to challenging gender oppression, to challenging racism and centering Black and Indigenous technologies and wisdoms, and sharing some real concrete strategies, from backyard gardening to promoting and supporting women who make jams and jellies, who engage youth through camping and skills. We have a number of questions, both from the question and answer, some comments from YouTube. Greetings to all who are tuning all across the globe. So I will ask the questions that folks have posed, starting with those that were just specific. So Diana, who talked about just the incredible traditions on your island, and also the needs that COVID has laid bare to challenge the infrastructure and the food system that exists today. Roxanne Marin, the president from the Belize Assembly of People with Diverse Abilities, has asked about your water infrastructure and how it is that you only have water 3 months out of the year. Is it from your rainfall? And what is some of the strategies you pose to address the need for water sovereignty?
Yes, I meant, yeah, raining fall. Right now, we're expecting raining for May, July. That would be the best raining for farming here, because September, October will be like will flood, and it will not be quite good for some type of and we have a small dam, and that dam, the water gets distributed to the homes, and they do not have like irrigation water, or not, treated with chemicals. So we definitely, and we only depend on rain.
Greetings. Thank you so much. Your connection isn't perfect, but I think I heard that you do have a dam and that rainwater. And that seems to attest to traditional ancestral technologies that address the lack of investment in rural areas by the current political structures, colonial agricultural model that you all as women farmers are challenging. A comment from YouTube was that it's a pity that the internet connection is not so great on the island. but your presentation has been fabulous, and we will ask if you're able to do a short video recording that we could share with our networks. Definitely, that's one of the challenges in rural areas across our territories, just access to Wi-Fi. So thank you so much, Diana. We also have a question that's specifically to Mildred. The compañera D. Woods is asking if in Jamaica, your project your initiative focused on backyard gardening, if it is supported by the Jamaican government and particularly with land distribution.
The current project, backyard gardening project, is funded by private sector with the main agricultural government agency offering technical support.
Thank you so much. And it sounds like a very interesting initiative that's really focused on the theme that you all have discussed of getting back to the land and assessing how much the current system fails to ensure that our people have our food needs met in culturally relevant and powerful ways. We had a question that was specifically about the capacity building that you all do as women, gender oppressed leaders in the region. How do you build capacity of your community to engage in this fight? So Stephanie from Belize, you talked about how you plan in the future to do summer camps that will share skills and develop and train. How have you worked on engaging people in the land and food justice movement in Belize, Stephanie?
Yaya, please unmute your mic so we can hear Stephanie.
Can you hear her now? Go ahead,
We're not
Steph.
hearing her.
I'm right
Steph, go
here.
ahead. Yeah.
So due to the current state of the country, actually the world, due to the pandemic, there isn't so much that we can do. Of course, we can definitely take advantage of doing a webinar and using our resources that we can use to not actually have individuals out there and maintaining our social distancing. But to start with, the Senegal that we started within ourselves with the working group, it's 12 of us. And as soon as it's completed, we are actually documenting everything, and we will be releasing a documentary based on all that we have done when it comes to clearing the land, planting the land, building on the land. And so we're actually showing individuals what it takes to get it done, because we can talk about it, but it's to get it done. So we're showing them, and then we will be inviting community members who are now interested in being a part of the Senegal to develop their land and to make sure that they're planting their food. And so that is the next step that we will be taking.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. And Mildred in Jamaica, similar question to you. How is it that you seek out women farmers in the rural areas, and what kind of work do you do specifically to build power as a community, to build up your capacities to both challenge the political, patriarchy in the political and land ownership system, but also to engage in entrepreneurial pursuits and in farming for your communities?
Okay. Selecting farmers, I really don't go out and say, do you want to do farming? I'll select you. Most times, the women are already doing agriculture, but you can see that they need some guidance. They need to be a part of a team. You can see that they have the potential to work. the land, but they need that push. And this is where I would come in, and I would have dialogue with them, and I would ask them if they are interested. Upon acceptance, then I would ensure that we have cadres of women of like 10 to 20, and that is where we have conversations to decide who lives in which geographic area, so that we can look at what is called the farmer field schools that RADA offers, and to make recommendations. And RADA is a Rural Agricultural Development Agency. And we also have other private sector agencies who do training too. They offer very good technical support, and they are willing to come on board. They will share their expertise and knowledge, and they will sell farm products. And they will also tell the farmers where are some of the better markets. They're very, very helpful. So that is what is usually done for capacity building. There's a second part to your question. Can I hear it again? There was a second part to that question.
The question was both about the technical farming and producing jams and jellies was one example you gave, and then also for women to organize to defend your rights in your communities for land, for participation.
Okay, different communities have different crops or fruits at different time of the year. And that is what makes our country unique. So you might have a fruit that is available at one side of the island at a particular time of the year, yet it is not ready on the other side. But when you introduce a product, a processed product, the demand might be there for it all year round. And so it creates a market for the area that doesn't really have the skill set to do the product, the value-added product that you want. So we set up that kind of communication link to ensure that we have rural women in different parishes that we can communicate with and find out if the product or the fruit is available in that area, so we can get it to do what we have to do. Otherwise, and this is very rare that we can do it because most of our rural women do not have a lot of money. But if there is funding available and we buy a lot of the fruit and we find ways of preserving it so that when there is a shortage on one side, we have enough raw material to do what we have to do.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to take one more question from the chat box so that you all have time for your closing remarks, and Sister Yaya as well. And again, it's just been such an honor to listen to you all share your strategies for liberating the land in our communities. The question is specifically, and it relates to what you just described, Mildred, how women and gender oppressed peoples are often at the fore of creating networks across islands, across territories, across seas and lands, amidst a very hostile political climate. You're providing solutions. So this question is for Diana. I hope that we can hear you on your small but dignified island. How have you all as a community and organization been working with other international groups or organizations, perhaps other campesino initiatives or international agencies that have walked in step with your work?
Hello, I hope you're hearing me.
Yes, sis, we hear you.
We're working actually with Slow Food. Slow Food, it's from Italy. Yes, so Slow Food is from Italy. It burned there, but it's an international network that works all around the world. We're part of communities, and we can have close contact with other indigenous people around the globe. They look for resources and projects to apply on the out of these processes. So it's very good to find these type of organizations that can facilitate our contact with other people and indigenous people from all around, not only the Caribbean, but the Americas and Africa and other places, and we can share our knowledge and get new ideas. I recommend you to look up for this organization. It's a very nice network.
Great, thank you so much. I believe you talked about Slow Food International and working with other Black and Indigenous groups, farmers and fisher folks, and those fighting for land and autonomy for your communities. So we're now going to move into the closing of this gathering, this virtual gathering. And just want to reiterate that for this project, the goal is primarily to facilitate dialogue and exchange of those who have grassroots and bottom-up strategies. Clearly COVID-19, but even before—
Your camera is not on, Pambana.
It won't let me. It says the host has stopped it. Oh, greetings. So definitely COVID has laid bare the challenges that our communities face. You all as presenters talked about high imports, how previously agriculture was not only, not promoted, but it was actually demonized and vilified in the current system. And you all have been on the fore of facilitating a move for land, for food that's culturally relevant, that's sustainably grown, that's produced and traded and sold and exchanged in ways that bring dignity to those who work the soil and who fish in our seas. So thank you very much for your presentations. And Yaya, Sis Yaya, I'm gonna bring it back over to you. And just one note from the chat box is that a number of people from the Caribbean diaspora have expressed just the honor that it was to listen to you speak and their desire to work in solidarity. So please, if you all as organizations have specific requests for those in the diaspora, there are many people who are ready and willing to listen to them and to walk with your struggles. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Pambana, youth organizer. And so now we'll go ahead and close out this segment by giving our three presenters, Diana, Marcela, Emporia, Green from Providencia, Colombia and South America, who represents the Providencia Food Producers Association, 1 minute to share her forward remarks. Go ahead, Sister Diana.
Thank you, Yaya. I would like to really thank you all for being here, for letting me participate in this great webinar. It's my first time getting in contact with other women like you are, great women, doing such a great, nice transmitting and sharing our knowledge online and maybe share project together towards our food system and food sovereignty. Thank you very much. I would like to also thanks to Grayburn, to the National University for letting me be part of. I hope we all can keep working as we're doing in our communities. Thank you very much.
Diana, and we're sending lots of positive vibrations to our family, friends in Old Providencia, in Colombia. Next, we have our sister Stephanie Williams Ramirez from Belize, representing the Belize Grassroots Youth Empowerment Association, Big A.
Yes, I just want to say again, thank you for having me today. I believe that food sovereignty is a key element in the fight for social justice. So I want to say kudos to all the women putting in the work and inspiring other women to put in the work and to follow the work of our ancestors. Let's not forget to incorporate our youths, because I believe a lot of our older their heads, they're more set in their way of go to school, get a good job so you don't have to work hard, and they consider farming a very hard labor. And so let's continue to encourage our youth and help them to unlearn and relearn over again how important it is to plant our own food. So I will close off by just repeating the very popular quote of to free ourselves, we must feed ourselves.
Ashe, thank you, Stephanie. Next, I'm asking Sister Mildred Crawford from Yaru Commission, Jamaica, to share her 1 minute of forward ever thoughts.
Thank you, my sister. I am really excited because I think this is just the beginning of a new world after COVID. This is one of the gifts that post-COVID has given me. I am prepared to make contact with these new people I worked with today. I think they have carried a lot of information that that will serve to I would say, strengthen the knowledge I have, and also to prepare me for stronger conversation at a global level. I thank you all for inviting me to participate, and I look forward for that kind of bonding and strong relationship that will make all of us happy and proud as agriculturists and Caribbean women.
Thank you to our three speakers, sisters from the Caribbean, as we wrap the Land, Food, and Climate Justice for by Caribbean Women webinar, and to all the people who made this possible. As our final call to action, we're encouraging our listeners, viewers, those streaming online, to visit our Facebook page to show solidarity across borders with our people, either by signing a solidarity statement, having discussion circles, participating in webinars, sharing information, just being there to support people who are doing the work. And with that, we'll go ahead and close out this webinar on land, food, women in the Caribbean webinar. Thank you for joining us.